Good morning, Jags. This is Fahad. Today is Thursday, January 21st. Let's get started. Going to keep it very short and sweet this morning, and then I'll pass it on to my team. Two stocks real quick this morning. The first one is FSLY that I just discussed in conversations yesterday morning. And then before that, on Tuesday, I discussed in the chat room as well. And this morning, this thing is finally breaking out. So we have been highlighting this $100, an important layer of resistance. And if it breaks out through that, it opens the door all the way to 120. And if you look at pre-market, it is doing exactly that. It's trading at almost at $103 per share. So you're going to see a breakout in this one. We saw stealth call accumulation in the short-term weekly calls yesterday, as well as we pointed out in the chat room. And the reason for this is if you look at today's first read, you will see right here that Oppenheimer, very timely piece, just as the stock was setting up. They're upgrading the stock to outperform this morning while putting a $125 price target. And basically they say that the analyst has grown incrementally positive after speaking to channel checks. And these are exactly the kind of things we like to see in analyst notes, forward-looking channel checks, which suggest record traffic volumes and positive launch of compute edge. Record traffic volumes. That's probably trying to tell us something. COVID-19 lockdowns are likely to stay until mid-2021, and even when these have lifted, consumer behavior has shifted to cheaper, better e-commerce and OTT streaming, he contends. Horan also notes that an important part of this bull case is that FSLY should trade at par with Cloudflare, which is a very interesting out-of-box thinking. This was not on my view, where they believe that it should trade with par with Cloudflare. Nevertheless, this should be enough to propel the stock higher. Let's see, can it make it to 110, 115? We'll see, but it should have a nice day today. That's one stock. Second stock real quick is Ciena, which is now, I believe, the third or fourth time I'm bringing this into this conversations. As many of you may remember, back on, let me see, back on right here in conversations on December 4th was the first time when I brought this up, and I recommended that it's time to get long. And in this particular presentation, I specifically mentioned that this is a contrarian bull case for Ciena, which has been decimated since September, because a few quarters of mishaps caused the stock to come down sharply, and the investor community started to basically give up on these names entirely, even though management in its own earnings call was giving us pretty positive commentary on the outlook, particularly imaging with the rising capex environment in Asian Pacific region. So this was a contrarian bull case, and it has served us very well since then. Well, this morning looks like the analyst is finally starting to come around my idea. So this was in early December, right over here when I got long, when it started to basically move out of this rounding bottom. And since then, it has made a nice recovery. This thing is going to pop this morning again, closed yesterday at 52.84 and now trading at 55 and change. I still think this thing is going to gradually grind higher, and you're going to see new 52-week high over time in this stock. Likely reaches $65 to $70 per share over the next coming months. And I also expect a very strong quarter from this company because consensus is still low. And so that's earnings report is going to be in the first week of March. Here's a note that's coming out from Bank of America this morning. This is a brief snapshot of that. And now they're finally coming around. They had a very negative view on this company, but this morning they're finally changing their stance, and they see now exactly the same bull case that management has been telling them for the last several months, particularly related to Huawei displacement in India. As you know, that India has gone significantly hawkish by constantly hammering Huawei, just like the United States has, preventing them from being able to expand their territorial reach and their product reach in India. More than 200 apps on smartphones in India have been banned that are Chinese apps. So here's another case for that too, where they're saying that India is undergoing one of the largest internet build-outs in the world. One of the largest internet build-outs is taking place in the world in India currently. And as a result, the optical capex is starting to grow sharply, which used to be only 1.5% CAGR is now expected to accelerate to 3.8% CAGR, and I believe this is still too low on the consensus side. I think this is still going to go higher because the consensus is still not fully recognizing the opportunity here. And as a result, when you spread these optical cables deep in the ocean bed, on the Indian Ocean side and other places connecting India to Australia and connecting India to China and many other places, this is exactly what this company does. And they also talk about that there are limited share gains opportunity in the subsea because CIEN remains the absolute pure play with commanding leadership position. And also on top of it, the 800G technology that is being rolled out right now, which is a significant upgrade from 400G, is the key reason why CIEN should continue to outperform and should continue to see these growth rate should stay very, very strong. So late a little bit to the party, but nevertheless in the right direction. Expect this stock to pop through $55 resistance, and I expect from there on still any kind of pullbacks in this names will remain shallow, and over time this should gradually grind to 60 plus, maybe all the way to $70 per share. And that's it from me for today. Let's go to Jay.
Morning, everyone. So I have a couple potential homepage write-ups that I'm looking to do. So first off is Silvergate Capital, ticker SI. The company actually reported their Q4 earnings after the close yesterday. And they weren't supposed to report until next Monday, but they also announced a 200 million public offering as well. So I don't know if that had something to do with it. But anyway, now I have yet to see the transcript, the conference call transcript come in, nor have I seen any analyst commentary. So once I get that information, I will start a homepage write-up, and it will obviously be a behind the numbers write-up. But for now, just a couple of data points from the press release. They said that the Silvergate Exchange Network, or SEN, handled 90,763 transactions in Q4, which was an increase of 33% sequentially and 530% year over year. Digital currency customer-related fee income came in at 3.8 million versus 3.3 sequentially and 1.4 million last year. Digital currency customers grew to 969 in Q4 versus 928 sequentially and 804 last year. And then finally, digital currency deposits grew to 5 billion in Q4 versus 2.1 billion sequentially. So once I get all of the relevant information, I will do a homepage write-up on this one.
Great stuff. I'm sure this would be of very interest to all Jag clients and others, because this has been a huge winner for everyone since we presented the first bull case way back in March, and then we really started to reiterate that bull case back in October, November, when cryptos started to run strong. The only thing that I will caution here, Jay, is, and I'm sure others have noticed, there's a high correlation between how SI has performed, Mara has performed, right? Marathon, Patent, and some of the others versus cryptos. And you know that BTC, this, if you look at the Bitcoin futures, they have pulled back recently, you know, from a high of 42,000 now to 32,000. Will it come in even further? I do not know. This is a very volatile futures. And so it's going to really drive the price action on SI, but I think that the fundamental bull case should still continue to improve. So I'm looking forward to what you discovered in this earnings report.
Yep. And then secondly, the other homepage write-up is going to be on the hard seltzer industry. So last week, of course, we mentioned that Monster Beverage is most likely going to announce or, you know, give some sort of update on their seltzer initiative when they report their next earnings report, which won't be until next month. But just this past week, there have been some industry checks from B of A, from Truist, that I am looking to just kind of, you know, talk a little bit more about, give you an update on the industry. So I will have that for you on the homepage as well.
Great stuff. Yes, looking forward to that too. Interestingly, I was just looking at Boston Beer symbol SAM yesterday for the same reasons, because I also saw some things on the channel check side on the hard seltzer category, which seems to be still quite strong. And the chart has been consolidating for now about 3 months. Also saw a slight pickup in call option activity in the chart. SAM is at support right at $900 per share. So with that said, another one to keep an eye out, combining this with Monster Beverage as well, which has this major catalyst if they're going to launch that category in second quarter sometime. And I believe that's going to be the key discussion in the upcoming earnings conference call on February 25th. Good stuff. Let's go to Chronicle.
Morning. I have a bullish setup today. Company is Harley Davidson, ticker HOG. So as you know, I recently took a bearish trade at the beginning of December, and then on the 22nd of December, I said in the conversation video to cover the short. So that trade worked out very nicely, and considering that we made money shorting a stock in a raging bull market. And just to summarize, that trade was basically due to poor channel checks, while at the same time the stock was getting too ahead of itself and it was running up to key resistance. But fast forward to today, and this long idea is more of an event-driven trade. So like I said back on December 3rd, this company is currently in the early stages of a multi-year strategic plan to make itself relevant again in the modern world. I don't know if they will be able to pull it off successfully, but I do think we are currently in the rumor buying phase for this stock. And so I want to be writing that going into management's big reveal on February 2nd of their 2025 hardwire plan. So basically between now and February 2nd, I think the stock is going to get bid up in anticipation of what the company is going to announce. Now, just to provide some background here, back on July 28th, when they reported Q2 results, management announced a quote-unquote rewire of their product offerings, as well as alluding to some restructurings of their international markets. And then a couple months later, on October 27th, they announced that they had essentially finished resetting their international markets, and they have now exited 39 countries, which is sort of consistent with what I'm seeing where I live in Asia. Like I live about 15 minutes away from a Harley Davidson dealer that used to be around for several years, but never got much business because people here just weren't that interested in buying hogs, because culturally riding a bike here is seen as generally being lower class, even if it's a Harley. And so last year they closed down a section of their showroom, though not completely. So if we look at the chart of the stock, you'll notice that on that very day, October 27th, when they announced that they exited a lot of their unprofitable markets, you'll see that the stock spiked hard on that day. But then after that, the market started to get too ahead of itself the following month, together with the negative channel checks, which is why I recommended to take the nimble short position, basically playing the mean reversion. But now management has announced that following the successful execution of their rewire strategy, they are now moving on to the next phase, which will be called the quote unquote hardwire strategy, which is going to cover the company's plans from 2021 all the way to 2025. And that presentation is going to be on February 2nd during their earnings. So they're a much leaner company than before, and it looks like management is looking to build on top of that. I don't want to speculate too much about what they're going to announce, but what I will say is that they've already tried getting into the electric vehicle market in the past with their live wire bike, as shown by this image that I shared. But that didn't turn out to be all that successful, mostly because of pricing. But that said, I think it's a safe bet that the market is going to be bidding this stock up over the next couple of weeks going into earnings. Technically, it's getting a bit overbought at the moment. So today, I'm hoping that it can take a bit of a breather and pull back to about $40, give or take, before making the next leg higher. So like I said, this is more of an event-driven trade rather than purely fundamental. So wait for a shallow pullback if possible, then get long the stock. That's the trade setup.
So I'll give you my quick thoughts on this one. I think you're in the right direction over here, both sentiment-wise as well as this. So first of all, just a high-level view, and I think everybody understands this, that you look at a typical Harley Davidson motorbike, right? Where do you see them? You see them, as you said yourself, and I'm not trying to make any stereotypical assumptions over here, but you see a lot of the lower class people that actually drive them. It's a hobby, it's a recreational item. If you go to any kind of, and I used to go to those kind of bars, you will see a lot of bikers outside. And then you look at exactly who these people are and what kind of people, who they drive, and you will find out exactly what kind of class we're talking about. But now you take a look at this very bike that's in front of you on this screen. This looks absolutely nothing like a typical Harley bike. This is an electric bike. And for those who do not know, if you go to the Jaguar chat room on October 27th, right here, you do a simple Control F search. This is an ugly looking cycle. But at that time, I showed this on October 27th, and I said that check this out. Harley Davidson unveils a gorgeous new electric bike called Serial 1. This will go on sale on in March 2021. Pretty cool bike, according to Verge. This is an actual bicycle. This is not a motorbike, but you can see it's somehow electric. I don't know exactly how it is electric, but there was a whole article that was published around it. This too is coming out in March. Point here is this: you look at this bike, and then you look at how this euphoria, anytime when somebody enters into the electric space, electric vehicles, electric bike, electric, anything, scooters or whatnot, and the space just runs, the stock just runs sharply. This is stock at 12% short interest. The question is that, will they be able to modify the opinions, change the opinions on the consumers enough with the release of a motorbike like this to cause the youth, to cause the young generation, the ones in their 20s and 30s and high earners and all of them to potentially take interest in a bike like this? All electric, 30,000 starting price. I understand it's expensive relative to any car, but that's how bikes are typically in America. City range 146, fully electric, 15.5 kilowatt per hour battery size. Charging time is 12 hours and all this, and then there's probably going to be supercharging stations everywhere. Will the guys in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s will jump into something like this? Will it take interest? And this is all incremental, right? What if this catches on? And this stock is 12% short interest, only $6.5 billion in market capitalization, trading at only 1.3 times sales. We could see this company go from posting a revenue decline of 22% year over year during the first 9 months of 2020 to potentially flat growth, to potentially single digits year over year growth, and then a double digit growth year over year. With an improving economy and rising consumer discretionary spending, that also helps as well. So I could see this stock actually going from 40 to substantially higher over time. That's how things play out, especially in an improving economy. I do think there's going to be some interest from the young population, from the trendy ones, from Generation X or Y, whatever we call them these days, in a bike like this. Lastly, guys, February 2nd, mark this date down. February 2nd is the date when the company is holding their Analyst Day, in which they're going to provide a 5-year strategic plan, their long-term vision of how to grow the company. And given that this product is coming out before that, I have a feeling that's all they're going to talk about. They're going to talk about how they're going to go into electric. They're going to talk about the bicycle and many of the things, and they're going to be very, very positive for the next 5-year outlook. So I could see this stock run strong for quite some time to come. All right, great stuff. Let's stop over here. Thank you everybody for joining, and we will see you in the chat room shortly.